Here at Hawkeye Rides. I'm Anthony, and we're going to start off with the auto news, which we have a ton of updates. Starting off with Infiniti is bringing back the Q50. I was going to talk about it last week because I'm excited. A lot of people have been talking about it, but they haven't really stressed the importance. Hopefully we'll have the RS or the Red Sport 400, which has 400 horsepower. It's a V6 twin turbo engine. It was literally the best in class with performance vehicle for pricing when it was out. And from my understanding, you could still get some that's brand new for the Lux or the Red Sport 400, but they're going to be coming back out around 2027, and they're going to offer a manual, which I think is a little bit interesting, but it should be cool too because we haven't had a manual in the Q50 sedan. They're also going to be adding performance to the QX80, which they're going to have a track spec and a terrain spec. But listen to the numbers. 650 horsepower, 750 pound-feet of torque. That is a 50% increase. It's going to have a new turbocharged system and 24-inch wheels for the track spec on the QX80. The QX65, it's still a concept. Fastback. Hey, Sean, how are you doing? Fastback design off of the FX, which the FX, they had back in the day a performance variant, which they're still actually relatively expensive if you are looking to get one used. And kind of hoping they do the same thing with the QX50, but they will have 22-inch wheels. I don't know. It's all these styling updates that they're doing. It's not going to benefit the ride, but it'll benefit styling. BMW for the X5, X6, X7, we're going to go over all these updates. So the iX5, the electric variant, will be around August 2026. You're going to have a new iDrive 9.0, so kind of it's going to have some glitches just like the 8.0 had, and then they'll probably have an 8.5 and an 8.5 like 2 because they had two different updates. And one thing that I will be cautious and tell viewers is when you are getting these new iDrive systems, sometimes it's best not to just go buy the brand new vehicle, because with BMW, what they do is they don't necessarily update the first set of updates. So maybe the iDrive 9 will not get the update for the iDrive 9.5 when it comes out, probably within a few months to a year afterwards. The updates for the X5 are pretty substantial. The grille, we've already talked a lot about it on prior live streams. It's a little bit smaller. The X7 is looking for 2027 to be updated, as well as getting an iX7, so an all-electric variant too, and they're all going to be off of the new platform. The fourth generation X6 is going to be pushed to 2028, and it's going to be off the Claire platform. So one thing to mention is the X7 is not going to be off the same styling as the X5. So if you are skeptical about getting the X5, with the X7 you'll still have that bold style. And with BMW, they're still going boxy, where Audi's updates are going to be more round. They're pretty much the only one that's doing that, because even when we're going over Mercedes here in a bit, most of their updates are going to be more boxy as well, but they are bringing some V8s back, so I'm really excited to see that. The 3 Series, more boxy looking. I'm sure you guys seen the spy videos. And the M350, they dropped the I. It's no more M340i. It's an M350, around 417 horsepower. That's going to be a serious powerhouse compared to Mercedes and Audi. Audi does have to step up their game, which they are doing. Mercedes, the same thing. There's no talks about a C63 SE performance. They're basically trashing that, and it's either going to be an inline 6 or a V8 bi-turbo, which we'll get back into that. 428 pound-feet of torque is roughly the numbers for the M50. I'm really excited to see it. The styling, I'm all right with it. Anthony, will there be redesign for the M3 and M4? There will be, but it'll probably be the next year, because that's the way BMW has been doing it. So it may be just a carryover. Right now, there hasn't been a lot of word or a lot of confirmation on everything because of all the updates that BMW is doing. They're also going to be updating the 5 Series, but that's going to be pushed back to around, it was May 2026 for the day you could start ordering it, but now it's going to be for July. So some of the pushbacks, and also because of the administration changing, they also have been changing some of the engine variants and kind of scaling back from electric variants and going more so towards ICE variants or even some hybrids, which Toyota has been basically staying with. The 7 Series is likely to carry over the powertrain, and they're going to have some updates. It's going to be basically a bigger 5 Series. So the whole styling element to it, it's going to mimic it quite a bit. Boxy looking. I do feel BMW's keeping that aggressive stance, but I feel like the exterior is starting to look a little bit more like harder plastic instead of like a more smooth out style that they've been known to do. And that's one thing that usually with the updates for BMW, we always have that issue where people just hate it right off the bat and then we learn to love it afterwards. No more 8 Series. That is a big thing because I personally love the 8 Series. There is supposedly a redesign coming, but it may not be called an 8 Series. It's going to be some kind of flagship name for around 2029 for a Grand Coupe. So we're going to have to wait quite a while for that variant to come out. And it may more than likely be an all-electric variant because BMW is kind of going that route with a lot of their vehicles. Now for Mercedes, 2027, the C-Class. We're going to have a lot of updates. Hey, James, how are you? Good to see you as well. The C-Class, I'm really excited for 2027 because the bumpers, the grills, they're going to probably have the 3-point badge all over the grills. They're also going to have that on the headlight and the tail light assembly. So it's going to be kind of a... let's say the word, like different elements inside it. So they'll probably use the lighting, what is it called now? It's like a pixel light. So basically like a TV screen light where they have over 60,000 different LEDs in the lighting system, and it'll more than likely have the 3-point badge. So I think that's going to be awesome the way they incorporate it. I think Mercedes does a good job with more of that older luxury style. But what I am happy about is the V8s that are getting announced. There's no hard confirmation yet, so it still could be an inline 6, but the bi-turbo V8 is definitely going to be coming. And to skip down to some of the news so you could hear some of the excitement, we're finally getting a CLE63 V8 bi-turbo. It's going to obviously have a hybrid assist, so a 48-volt mild system. It's going to be somewhere around 600 horsepower and around 774 pound-feet of torque. So when I'm saying Mercedes is stepping up their game, they really are. BMW, I think since they've been up in the horsepower torque numbers for so many years, they've been kind of, like we're, the number one with the horsepower and torque numbers and pretty much the best 50-50 weight distribution. Now they need to pay a little bit more attention because Mercedes is now stepping up their game. The S-Class, it's going to have some major updates, more aggressive styling with a V8 option, so I appreciate that. The SL is going to have some updates. There's no confirmation on the styling or engine spec yet, but I can more than likely assume the V8 bi-turbo is going to be back on pretty much every variant, especially considering when they said the CLA wasn't going to get a true AMG, now it's getting it. They are still coming out with the baby G-Wagon. It is only going to be fully electric, which is sad to me because I actually like the G-Wagon. I just feel it's a little overpriced. And with the baby G-Wagon or little G-Wagon, whichever name they name it, if it was an ICE, even if it was a hybrid, I might even consider it because I think it's just an awesome box-looking style vehicle. And a smaller version of it, I mean, most people don't use it for what it's worth anyway. So I think that's what makes that vehicle a little bit more special. E-Class is going to have an EV, and they might be doing an E63. It's not confirmed yet, but I really hope that they go that route because, again, if they go with the same model like they did before COVID, keeping V8s with the bi-turbos, and then building up on the quality control, I think Mercedes will definitely soar like they were. Now, pricing, because of everything going on, they are all going up in price. I'm sure you guys already heard Lexus went up about $500 on the TX. So every company that said they're not going up, they are. They're not going up substantially, so don't go too crazy and say, oh, I got to buy a car. If you don't need to buy something, don't buy something. Audi, this is the best news, the comeback of the R8. I'm really excited about this. The first R8 I ever saw, I was working at my dad's pizzeria, and I was doing a delivery. I drove by it, and I said, oh my God. I told my wife, Rizzy, I said, you know what? I want to get that car. And every single time I review it, I just love the R8. What it is just an amazing vehicle. It's going to have around 1,000 horsepower. That is crazy in itself. Top speed over 200 miles per hour, and it's going to be a PHEV. So you're basically getting a Lamborghini, hopefully for the fraction of the price, because they have went up quite a bit, which is why I'm a little disappointed with the R8, because when you're starting to spend $250,000 to $300,000, it's an awesome vehicle, but now you're entering territory of vehicles that are faster and can be a little bit cheaper. Now with Lamborghini, it's a little bit harder to source some of the cars because a lot of them are selling out relatively quickly, which is crazy. The RS7 is going to carry over for 2026. We're going to have a bunch of reviews of that because for 2027, there hasn't really been, there's so many up and down talks. So I'm going to do a little bit more diving into it. And on the next live stream, we'll definitely entertain a lot more on that because there's nothing that's been really hard for confirmation. I'm going to Audi this week, so I'll talk to one of my teams. And then I have 4 different teams that I work with, so I'll also make some phone calls. But the carryover with 621 horsepower, I mean, it's enough. It's one of my favorite variants in class, besides the RS5 Sportback. Both 2 of those, just a really great vehicle. 627 pound-feet of torque, 3.30 to 60. I mean, it is crazy. If you haven't seen the reviews, check them out. And we also have the Carbon Edition, which is like one of 100. That was for 2024, which was a special edition. And the Performance variant, which is this year. I think we have a couple already on the channel. Check them out. I mean, awesome vehicles. RS6 Avant. It's going to be going to a PHEV, but it's going to have over 700 horsepower. The spy pictures, I don't know if you guys seen them. I do say, you know what, if you get a chance to check them out. I'm going to try to see if I could start uploading pictures on the live stream so that way you guys can see the spy videos. I haven't quite figured it out. I have a YouTube agent, but they haven't been helping me too much with the live stream information. But anyways, it looks more round, not boxy, and I actually appreciate that because Mercedes and BMW is kind of going more box for the traditional aggressive look, and Audi's going the opposite direction. So I like how they're standing out, but what I dislike is they're doing this 11.9-inch gauge cluster, the 14.5-inch infotainment screen, the 10.9-inch passenger screen. It's just too many freaking screens. I mean, you buy a car to enjoy it. And Audi, they do a great job with luxury. The seat comfort is good. Even the suspension is good. And you get some of the exhaust note. But I don't need screens everywhere. It's bad enough that I'm carrying my cell phone with me 99% of the time. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. Drop a comment because it drives me insane. How much technology can you use in a car? Because you have to physically drive it. You can't really take your eyes off the road that long. So to have 3, 4, 5 screens, a little overkill. Now, it may be a new V6 variant also, or an upgraded twin-turbo V8. That hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, and again, when I go to Audi, I will bring some more updates. The RS5 is likely going to be a PHEV twin-turbo V6, and the RS3 might be the last year for 2027, and that really irritates me because the RS3, even in the reviews, that's literally one of their best vehicles, best priced vehicles, performance vehicles. I mean, everything that a vehicle needs is there, and it's just, it could be gone. I hate the new interior in the new Audis also too much. Yeah, the gloss black, you're right on it, Sean. And especially when you go into the RS, like in some S, okay, maybe offer the glossy black as like, you know, the base trim, but immediately do something with the black optic package that can give some interior specs instead of going into an RS design, because you have to continuously add all of these extra features. Make it a little bit easier and get rid of the gloss black. I mean, it scratches, it's plastic, and it looks crappy. I hate to say it that way. Mercedes does the same thing. BMW, they do it with the screen configuration, not so much with the dash, so I appreciate that. And if you get the hyper screens in the Mercedes, I think that's cool because you have that glass that's covering the whole dashboard, so at least you're getting some value there. Come on now, all this plastic and you're spending over $100,000. Somebody needs to really talk to these design people. Now the Q8 and Q7, it's going to be updated. The Q9, hopefully this next month or 2, we'll be bringing it to the channel. If not, it's going to be the last quarter of 2025 for the 2026 variants. I am very excited for the Q9 because they finally are bringing in a vehicle that can compete with the X7 and the GLS, because you have to have a longer vehicle in order to do so. And I know the QX80 isn't something that competes with it, because it's a little bit slotted underneath, kind of with Cadillac. But in the same category, Cadillac and Infiniti has been up in their game with performance, because now with Infiniti, they're coming out with that performance spec, which is going to be crazy. As for the Q3 redesign for 2026, I'm sure you guys have already seen the 11.9-inch screen for the gauge cluster, the 12.8, so at least it's a little bit smaller. The US market, we're only getting the 2.0 Turbo 4 with the 48-volt mild hybrid system. Pretty much everybody's going that way. Now, one thing that is really insane, and this is why I don't like Volkswagen so much, because Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bentley, Bugatti, they own everything, right? So now with the Volkswagen, for a special edition in 2027, this is great in the sense of a discount, but it sucks because we're losing the RS3. You're getting the RS3 5-cylinder engine in the Golf R for a special edition. That is, I think they just dropped the news like 2-3 days ago. And that was, I saw it and I'm thinking, okay, 59 pound-feet of torque more, 66 horsepower more in the Golf R. I've driven the Golf R, that is crazy. The split tail lights are a bad choice for the Q3. Yes, in the split tail lights, they're also doing that in pretty much a lot of the vehicles. There's a few other ones. I don't know if I've mentioned them yet. I put a whole bunch of notes down. They're going to be doing the split lights in some other variants too. Apparently, this is starting to become a common thing. Not so much with the smaller vehicles, so that's why for the Q3, I don't know, that choice wasn't really intelligent. But the Golf, that is crazy, because I've driven the Golf. We have a couple reviews on it, especially the Golf R. They're also going to adapt the RS3 torque split differential. Now, if you're not familiar with the system, this is the way it is. I tried to get the proper wordage, so let me just word it so it's in English instead of that way. This basically takes the torque that's sent to the rear wheels and distributes it so you could have all the torque on one side. It is crazy. And when you put it into that mode, you use the paddle shifts and it unlocks, basically redlining the vehicle. And I mean, it's crazy. I believe on Supercar Throttle, I have some 0 to 60 videos of that. I usually do the 0 to 60 videos on Supercar Throttle only. I will start putting some more back onto Hawkeye Rides channel also, so that way you guys can see the difference. Today or yesterday, we did the M3 CS versus the C63 SE performance on Supercar Throttle. Crazy performance on both of them. Just check it out if you get a chance. They're also, now with this, so the RS3, the reason why they're going to be getting rid of that 5-cylinder, which is by far one of the best engines Audi makes, is because of the Euro 7 standards. So to meet the standards, they're going to be changing a lot of configuration. That's why it's coming out also, because it's a 25th anniversary. But for 2027, that's the reason why it's coming out for the Golf R. Discontinuing it for the RS3, unfortunately. But at least we'll be getting it with that spec. And it's going to add some weight, so I'm sure the horsepower and torque will change the 0 to 60 numbers a little bit, because they have to get it to the spec for the Euros. Now, the 2026 Lexus, we all know about the ES getting a new electric variant plus the all-hybrid powertrain. They're going to have updates to the RX Hybrid and NX. The new RX plug-in hybrid, which we'll be bringing to the channel soon. I'm actually going to Lexus this week, but they didn't confirm if they had any 2026 models yet, because I don't think they've actually landed. The GX and the LC500 also get some updates. 2026 Honda Pilot, new larger 13.2 touchscreen, and they're keeping the V6. There's some design updates. I'm excited for that because I like the Pilot. I think it's a well-built vehicle and it gives you enough. It doesn't go over the top with plastic. It's basic, but that's what you need when you're going for something casual yet family-oriented, and you have a lot of storage plus a lot of standard features. I mean, Honda does a good job with that. Audi is going to have some major they're going to have some updates, nothing major for 2026. The Civic will have a new 12.3-inch screen for 2027. That, I think, could be good because it kind of fills in some of the gap because the Civic is a little bit more basic and they're incorporating the same style in a lot of their vehicles with Honda. So I feel it's a little cheap, but in the same category, it has been working. They do have a lot of recalls going on right now, but I mean, every vehicle company does, so I didn't really feel like explaining all those things because I think it's just overkill because everyone's going through a lot of things. I will start doing some more updates with the recalls too, so that way you guys can see different vehicles and whatnot. 2027 is also going to have a new CRV and HRV, which is also exciting because all of those vehicles are off the same platform as the Civic. So when you're thinking about what Honda does, it's quite intelligent actually, because you can get a small SUV, a medium-sized SUV, or you can get a Civic, which is the sedan, or a hatchback. So they're giving you 4 different variants, but then the styling is very similar. Toyota for 2027, the Corolla, more than likely it's gonna be the 1.8 liter hybrid only engine, and the GR looks like it's going to be the 1.6 3-cylinder turbocharged. I feel Honda should offer a backup camera on their vehicles. What you think of the new Santa Fe? I think it's awesome. Hyundai, I'm going to be getting to in a second. I think Hyundai is great with all their updates. They've been doing a really good job. The backup cameras, they do need to update them quite a bit. I feel like they should do the 360-degree cameras on every trim now because it's starting to get, I mean, it's 2026 and we're coming out with vehicles and we still, on certain models, just have a reverse camera. The Santa Fe, again, Hyundai, I think that they are going the right direction in every category because they're not just offering like one powertrain. The interior, they're giving a lot more upscale amenities. It's not like a lot of plastic, and even they are putting better materials in the interior of the cabin. So if you go there, what I usually do when I review a vehicle, as soon as I open the door, the car has a scent to it, and some cars smell better than others. Hyundai actually doesn't smell like they used to. They are starting to smell a lot better. So that does mean that they're using more upscale components instead of all plastic. Because when it's more plastic components, it literally smells kind of like an AutoZone when you're going into the car. And when you go into some of these luxury performance cars, they have more of like a sweet smell because it's mixed with the leather and more premium materials like wood or carbon fiber. So again, I just think that, material does make a big difference in the interior of the vehicle and on the exterior also, not doing all this matte black. I like it to be the same color as the body, especially for the fenders and the bumpers, because it's matte black and glossy black. The glossy black is okay, but it usually does a lot of swirl marks, especially when you go take your car for service and they clean it. You'll notice as soon as you drive it, swirl marks are everywhere. It just makes it look very old quick, unfortunately. The Highlander is going to be getting an EV for 2027, and more than likely they're going to be doing probably hybrid powertrains only. The Grand Highlander is going to get some updates in the interior and exterior for 2027. So if you are considering to get one now, you should be good, especially for like a lease or something for a 2025 or 26, especially considering they're going to have the updates. So you could drop it when they get the updates and probably get a good resale value. If you're going to purchase it, I would say keep it for long term because you may drop a little bit in value. The updates for Toyota, I mean, they have been kind of similar for all of their trims. You can see it with like the Corolla that's coming out for 2027. It looks really good, but they're doing a lot of Crown/Prius mixtures into the interior. And some of the actual seat and the materials where you're resting is not as soft as it used to be either. They're also kind of cutting back a little bit on the seat, so where you put your butt, you'll notice that it's maybe like a 1/4 of an inch less. They've been doing this now for about 5-10 years. And for the back seat, it really starts playing a role because you don't have hardly any butt space. It's almost like you're standing up in those airplane seats that they're trying to come out with soon. The 2026 Hyundai Tucson in its 5th generation, it's going to be coming out. It will be later on for 2025. So hopefully in the next few weeks to months, we'll be bringing that onto the channel. 2026, we're going to have a new Santa Cruz for the 2nd generation. I am excited to see what's going to go on with that because the interior is starting to look a little dated. It still works in today's time with all the gloss black and screen configuration. But the way Hyundai has been implementing things, especially with the Palisade, when I did the review and the comparison, we have 2 or 3 reviews now on the channel, it's just I mean, not only value, but the interior is completely different. The screen configurations in the dashboard, I appreciate that when I'm looking at a new vehicle, that I don't have an iPad hanging out of the dash just looking at me like this, and then I got to look over it to see. I mean, it's just like such an afterthought, and I feel like Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis are not thinking after. They're thinking, you know what? Okay, we want to change the design of the dash. How can we do it where we integrate the actual infotainment screen? Any updates on the Honda Odyssey? The Odyssey is, let me get to that page. Were we on Honda? Let me get back to that page. Give me 1 second. I will get back to that. I also have notes here so I can go quicker because I have like 5 pages of notes of the updates of vehicles. Sorry about that. I'm going to get back to that, what I'll do, so that way I'll pull it through the computer because I have the slides. I may have missed going over that. Is I'll go to the next update, and when my computer gets it pulled up, I will go over that information. There we go. Okay, so the 2027 Kia Seltos is going to be redesigned. The 2027 Volkswagen Atlas will be redesigned. And the reason why I'm stressing these vehicles at the moment is because if you are looking into getting them, maybe get a lease type of deal so that way you can get out of the vehicle, because otherwise you might get stuck and you might lose a little bit of value. So going back, it says I'm on page 6. Okay, so page 6, there is going to have some mild so it's basically a mid recycle refresh for the 2026. It's going to keep the V6 option, but it's going to add a hybrid on the higher trim. So we're finally getting that, which is going to be good. The updates are going to be basically minor for the interior and exterior on it, but the fact that we're getting 2 powertrains, I think that's going to be a little bit of a game changer because we haven't seen that on the Odyssey. Well, love a Santa Fe review, even though I leased a hybrid variant, not a bad ride. Yeah, the Santa Fe, I think we have some 26 models coming out shortly. The 27, I didn't get to the Honda yet, right? Just gonna go through my notes really briefly. Sorry, I did a lot of research this time. That way I can give you, so we'll definitely, I think it's gonna be coming in the next couple days or weeks. I'll check back in there, and I'll also try to see if I can start giving like a list of vehicles that are coming out on the channel, because I usually schedule them out. The Acura Integra, the Integra A-Spec is going to have some updates for 2026. So more ambient lighting, standard wireless charging pad, standard wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, but that's on the A-Spec. And they're also going to have a standard 9-inch infotainment screen with new interior pattern and design. So I think that will be a good thing because it's a bit bland. Honda and Acura, I like both of them. I think they do an excellent job, but Acura I feel just holds back, and Honda doesn't really give enough sometimes when it comes to colors and different patterns for the interior. We already done this one. For Porsche 2026, the 911, which is going to be the 99 2.2. I'm excited for this generation, but I'm not excited because it's going to be a very big digital update, so screen configuration everywhere. I was just at Porsche this week. We did the Cayenne GTS, and we did the Cayman, the 718 Cayman S, which is still the Turbo 4, but it's kind of the sweet spot because after I was, sitting with it for the day, because I'm not really excited about the Turbo 4, but then I started thinking it's only 0.2 seconds slower than the GTS, which is like $10,000 more, especially with the same features. So I think that if you do it, you get the chrono package, you're going to actually really like that. Now with the 992 2.2, it's also going to return the all-wheel drive to the 911 Carrera 4S trims. So the coupe, the convertible and everything, 30 horsepower increase, so 473 horsepower. That should definitely be fun. And I mean, with Porsche, it's one of those brands that because Audi does so much in performance, it actually, in some categories, outperforms Porsche. So like, for instance, GTS, is actually the slowest for the Cayenne when you're comparing it. Porsche is a rich man car. Yes, it can be, especially with service. So with the Cayenne GTS, it's literally the slowest variant in class. The RSQ8 is $4,000 more, and it's literally 0.5 seconds quicker on a 0 to 60. And the service is going to be night and day difference, because when you go Porsche, you're going to be spending $2,000 to $5,000, upwards to, I think, almost maybe $6,000 to $7,000, depending on the service intervals on the Porsche. With the Audi, 4 years is going to cost you about $1,500. That's just, I wonder what luxury brand is the best. Well, it depends what you're looking for, because when you're going performance, all of those vehicles, so for the Cayenne, for instance, as an example, if you're competing it against BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and we could throw in Maserati, even though they don't have a Levante. I was going to touch bases on that next. It's unofficial. They are thinking about bringing it back, which is a really big deal for Maserati. That being said, the BMW and the Mercedes and the Audi is all faster than the Porsche. The BMW is going to be a more aggressive drive, so the suspension is going to be more firm. The seats are going to be more harder bolstering, so it's going to be more sport derived. Whereas Mercedes is going to be a little bit more soft in the interior because they have the most cushion in their seat. Audi and Mercedes are going to be very close in quietness for the ride, but because they're throwing all these big wheels on it, they have to really update the suspension, which they've done a great job in that, because it's still the more smoother drives of the four variants. Porsche does a great job in smoothness and quietness in the cabin. As the GTS, I was really impressed with the quietness, but then I couldn't really hear anything. I did hear some of the burbles, but then it felt very artificial. Whereas when I go into Audi, it doesn't feel artificial, it feels like it's mean. When I go into BMW, it's almost like it's screaming. And when you go into Mercedes, it's kind of like it's more of an elegant exhaust note. So it's like it's screaming, but it doesn't want to go to that higher sound where it is too much bass. So it's performance oriented. They just need to do a little bit. I mean, when you go into the 63 variants, it kind of barks at you, I guess you could say. But when you go into the 53 variants, because they use that inline six, which is a huge problem that I think I complained about on the GLE 53S that I just put up a day or two ago here, they should offer the bi-turbo V8 and detune it like BMW does with the S68 engine for their M60 variants. When you're giving that performance for 30 to 50 grand off, that's a great deal. When you're getting an RSQ8 for performance for $4,000 more than a GTS Porsche Cayenne, that performance is great. So that's what I mean. And then you still have that smooth drive. The sound system is awesome, and it's quiet because everything is acoustic. As for Maserati, one thing that I forgot to bring to the channel a few weeks back, Maserati is going to introduce V8s. They're going to come back out with them, but they're still keeping the Nettuno engine, the twin-turbo V6, which is a great engine, and it's F1 design, so you have 12 total spark plugs because you have 2 per chamber, which makes it basically like there's absolutely zero lag in between the gears. The V8s, they are going to be giving us as special edition variants. That's the kicker to it. That kind of irritates me a little bit because what's going to happen is they're going to be hard to find, and a lot of the Maserati dealerships are starting to only order vehicles that are sold. That's why if you've noticed lately, I haven't been posting a lot of Maserati videos because most of the dealerships only have 24 variants on the lot. If you guys like me to bring some more, let me know. I'll bring the 24 models on and I'll tell you what the 25s. And as soon as they get 25s, I get to review them. It's just most of them are sold, and then I have to talk to the owner. And by the time I end up talking to the owner, he drives it off the lot, and that usually ends that case. Mazda for the CX-5 on the 2026. One thing I believe Sean was mentioning, which some other people mentioned too on some of the comments of the CX-5 25 reviews, I believe that we've had, or 24, the 15.6-inch touch screen. Basically, there's no buttons. I don't know how you guys feel about this. It drives me crazy. I actually had this happen on the MC20. So I was driving I was going to go out for a day for just to get some coffee. Would love to see more Maseratis. I will bring some. I'm actually going tomorrow to Maserati, so I will schedule some reviews with them. Thank you for bringing that up, Sean. So I was in the cello and I decided to clean my infotainment screen because it had fingerprints, this gloss black crap, like it literally just leaves fingerprints everywhere. So I cleaned it with the car on. It literally froze my screen. Now with the MC20, there's no buttons just to put it into gear. That's all you can do. You could roll up and down the windows. You could play with the sound system, so it does have a button there, but that's it. So what happened is, hello. Oh, yeah, I know you're going to be in college. You tell me you're graduating for 2026. Congratulations when you graduate, my friend. Now, I cleaned it. It froze the screen. I couldn't put the top down, couldn't do anything, couldn't turn the AC on because there's no buttons. I had to restart the darn thing 4 or 5 times. Finally, it worked. So I'm sitting there sweating because Florida at that time, this was like a weekish ago, it was over 100 degrees, which I always tell James, it was just crazy hot, which has been the same thing I know in California because he's been telling me it's about 115 degrees. So anyone that's over there, you know, I understand your pain. Stay in AC as much as possible. But it took like 20, 30 minutes for me to get the screen to work. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, this is just stupid. Why does everything have to be in this screen? I don't need 800 buttons like an airplane, but a simple climate control, simple audio sound system control, that's all I need. Give me something like that. And for putting the top down, you know, that's why I appreciate the Corvette. They got a button. You don't have to do it through the infotainment screen. Everything is getting derived into that, and Mazda's doing the same thing with the 15.6-inch screen. It's going to be longer, it's going to be wider, they're going to have 5 trims, and I am excited to bring it to the channel when it comes because I think Mazda it's one of those premium vehicles that they are really going that extra step, and they're not charging that much more for premium. Most of their updates are still within a 500 to 750 update, meaning for 25 to 26 variants. And they're going to be doing a lot more in-house stuff, which I'm happy to see. And hopefully they'll have it all for 2027 variants because they've been talking about it now for about 2 years, how they're going to implement new engines for the Skyactiv G, and it's just not been coming out. It's not necessarily a bulletproof engine, but they do work well as long as you maintain them. And when you get up to higher speeds, it's kind of known, once you get around the 65 to around 80 mile per hour zone, it can bog down and take a little bit of time to move forward because it's a 6-speed automatic transmission. I think that should be changed to an 8-speed. That way you can go a little bit quicker and it doesn't put so much strain on the turbo. Normally, I would say, you know what, it's great to have that higher RPM, but you're always hitting the higher RPM in a Mazda because it's only a 6-speed in most of their vehicles. As for, there was some other updates. I think that's pretty much the majority of the main updates. I think I have some, the Nissan Pathfinder, that's going to be updated. It hasn't been confirmed yet if it's going to get the VC turbocharged 4, which I'm assuming it might not. They might keep the V6 because the administration's changed. One thing with the VC turbocharged engine with Nissan products, the reason why they changed all those things was for administration and to meet the EPA. And unfortunately, when all these companies are doing this electric change and the mild hybrid change and all these smaller turbo 4s, it takes years to do this. So we do get a lot of complaints on the channel for these turbo 4s. And I personally don't like them. I have a QX60 with the turbo 4. It does take like an extra second to 2 seconds to go the same speed I would go normally in the V6. But that being said, it's sad that they finally implement all this stuff and now we changed all of the guidelines because all those guidelines mean nothing now. As you see, Stellantis is now bringing V8s back exclusively on certain vehicles. And we do have a 392, the special edition, the final edition, which they have confirmed that the 2026 is coming out, so I'm still excited about that. We just reviewed it last week, so it should be coming on the channel soon. And I mean, 470 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, 4.50 to 60. All these numbers are crazy for a Jeep Wrangler. I have a 2024. Yeah, the V6 was the last year on the 2024. I had a 23. They did the buyback, and unfortunately, all the 24 autographs were completely done. They just started build on 25s. So I had to get a 2025 model. And unfortunately, because it took so long, it was literally like 5 weeks before the new 2026 model came out. So we didn't get the updates on the exterior and we didn't get the updated technology, but we got the updated engine, which is not the greatest engine. But that being said, I'm imagining, because all of the EPAs completely changed. They backdated everything for like 20, 30 years. So all the big V8 engines can come back. All the V10 engines can come back. Lamborghini's even talked about the V12 engine coming back. So all those things, I will say, will be coming in the next months to years. I wouldn't say much more than a year to 2 years. You're going to start seeing V6 variants coming back, and probably the drop of some of these turbocharged 4 cylinders, or maybe the turbo 3s will get converted into the turbo 4s, which would be a great thing, especially for like Buick. I think Buick, for the price, they did lower the warranty, but it's a great blend. I mean, 30 grand, right under 40,000, give or take, and you can get deals on these cars, and they're fully specced out with leather interior. But then they dropped the 4-year 50,000 to 3-year 36,000 maybe 4 years ago, which was kind of a bombshell for me, because I'm like, dude, like, that's the whole point of me going to Buick opposed to GMC, opposed to Chevy. But now it's like Buick is just right above Chevy, and GMC, and then Cadillac. Cadillac's doing a great job. They are doing some major updates, which I know Sean is aware of. The XT5, I'm excited to see what's going on with that. And with the electric vehicles, you're going to start seeing them scaling back quite a bit, not just because of the tax credit, but they've also cut back the funds to build some of these power plants where you can charge for quick chargers. So that being said, in North America at least, it's going to be a huge change. For Europe, I would imagine, because Mercedes actually made a statement, the CEO said that with EVs, they just don't see the infrastructure, or they don't see the automotive industry staying afloat with all EV vehicles. Now, that being said, EV vehicles in a whole, they're actually relatively good. They've been pretty bulletproof for the most part. Very minor problems considering the amount that's sold to the amount that's, on the market. And even as a used car, they still hold usually in the 90 or higher percentage of the battery to 4, 6, 8 years down the road, as long as you're not using supercharge all the time. That's one of the key things to these EVs. If you are looking to get one, don't use the supercharge every single day. Use the home plug a little bit more so. Level 2 is okay, but the supercharge does diminish the value, or it hurts the engine, the battery, for longevity purposes. But if you do a blend and you kind of keep it between that 10 and 90%, or 10 and 80%, that's really the best part, or the best area to keep the vehicle running longer at that 90 or to near 100% battery lifestyle. Thank you guys for stopping in. We're going to close up the live stream this week, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. Check out the membership. Check out Supercar Throttle. We do a lot of different 0 to 60 reviews, and we only do performance vehicles there. We do the same performance vehicles here, but it's a completely different review. So again, check them out. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend for everybody that came out. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, James. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys on the next